When you run out of ideas for building in Minecraft, it can really suck. Hitting a creative block in any field never feels good, but in Minecraft it especially hurts because there's an infinite sandbox with an infinite number of things that you can build, and sometimes it feels like you're absolutely trapped, but yet there are tens of thousands of great builds being finished every single day, and I guarantee if you just looked at one the right way, it would inspire you, and so that is my goal with the video today. I'm going through the survival worlds that my subscribers submitted, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got. And this one starts with a lovely set of signs that says that they actually did a relatively small world over 2 years, and they've got some random signs for me to look at stuff, and here is the chest for me to actually get acquainted with. Wow, full Netherite. They sure know how to bribe a person, and golden carrots, that is the exact right way to do this. I'm very excited to look around this world, but first I have to say, someone who's got full Netherite tools and armor, even specifically naming and max enchanting them, has no right having an area around spawn which is just these things. I'm very confused, but also curious because it seems as though this is someone who is a survival maximalist, something that is fair and fine to do, although I just have to question, did they get halfway through this staircase? Was there meant to be one there and they gave up on it? I've got a lot of questions, but I'm hoping I get some answers. Although in the meantime, I can say, wow, look at this ship right here. This is such a classic Minecraft build project. If you've never done one before, you really should. There's so many ways you can do it with the sails and whatnot, but also I love that they've got a giant hourglass looking thing over there. That is much more unique. I think every Minecraft world has a certain set of builds, whether it's a home, you know, somewhere to store your stuff, etc. But I love the builds that people start to add on top of that, like a graveyard. This is clearly to every single cat that has died, including Mr. Nobody. This isn't a cat, it's probably a pufferfish, but I love the idea of having a pet cemetery. I'm sure there would be no downsides to that in the real world. And I also love this idea of a bridge. It's necessary, but you can have as much flair or as little as you like with it, and this person went all the way on the flare slider. I mean, it's a really ridiculous looking bridge, but I like it. I also like the giant skull at the top of the mountain in the distance there, and clearly some form of cave, but I'm getting a lot of confusion looking around this world, which might be answered if I go to these coordinates, so let's do precisely that. This is a classic pickaxe. Let's see where this takes us. I do not believe that a man with a house that looks like this has full Netherite tools. It seems impossible to me, but maybe his mind has the answers. No, that's not it either. He hasn't even gone below the bedrock layer, so this must be a very, very old world. It's nice to see, but I've got to say, this is just as much an example of what not to do, you might be able to argue, but perhaps not as good of an example as this second world, which immediately you can see is so much more polished. I'm not necessarily sure in a good way, because it's 2 signs or 2 sets of books which you can read, and they tell you that it's a roleplay server. It's interesting enough, and wait, this book just says read the other one first, and then press the button on the wall, which I'm going to do right now, and we're going to, oh, it's very much not a standard server. You have to pick which character you want to be. I'll be Hades, sure. Look at me, I am Hades now. I've got a camp kit, and Toy Cat has to follow these signs. P.S. I gave you OP. So let's look around what you can do if you were to roleplay in Minecraft, i.e. actually lean into a theme. Not just building things because they're fun, but instead because they fit into your world. And by the way, I've never seen such a basic looking hut. I love the size of this thing. Use such fun stained glass panes. I really want to walk inside this because it's such a fun, funky, colorful building on the inside that uses such minimalist decor on the outside. Yeah, look at this. The banners are colorful. The signs, even at the ceiling here, they've got fake ceiling lighting that has these fun walls coming off it, and then a giant painting wall. If you want to go vibrant in your decorations, you totally can, and I'm a big believer in this, by the way. You can also go for very average, generic kind of big houses like this one right here. I'm fascinated by the way they dug into the terrain. I think that means this is probably creative, or it's an insane amount of survival effort, but they have a big house at the top here, which shows you that if you want to, you can just scale up your normal house plans by a bit and make something which is truly large. I mean, a lot of people love to live in big houses in the real world. Why not in Minecraft too? Actually, you know, I'm not sure you want an infirmary in your real world house, or a rec room, or a activities director. That actually sounds like a... You know, actually, if this is a roleplay map, is someone going to come in here and murder me? I've never been to a real world camp. I just know that that's where people die, and I really hope that doesn't happen to me tonight. Okay, I'm just going to go to sleep. Everyone keep a good eye on me while I'm there, okay? I wasn't murdered, but I woke up with 10 chorus fruit, which is almost more confusing, by the way. Oh, I can teleport into people's bedrooms. From up here, you can see something rather fun in my opinion, which is that every single build in this area was made just by clearing out the terrain, so it's still a forest, it's using the existing terrain quite well, which is a great example of that meme, but then also these builds are fairly basic in how they're put together. It's not impossibly hard to build each of these, it's just by putting together one build every few hours and making sure they fit into some cohesive plan. In this case, they've got a big trail mapped out between all of them. You can actually make something that feels like a put together map, a world that you'd be proud to show people around, as indeed this person is. Some of the builds are classy but basic, and some are the exact opposite of that, but they can all fit nicely together in the same world if you just have some nice spacing between them and you try to have some internal logic behind why they all where they are. And yeah, I find this to be very nice on that basis. Also look, they've got these giant statues made up of blocks. Redstone blocks are incredible to use just if you want to make some fun redstone, but they're also just as fun to make really crazy zany things like this. Have you ever wanted to see two statues fighting to the death? Well, you can't make them fight, but you can have really great things made from it. I love that, I have to say. What I also love is Artemis, which I don't think I want to go in there actually, and this big building at the end of this campy looking area. I'm very, very curious about what they do here. There's a big gold door that says Zeus on it. I can't imagine what that could possibly be. So let's look in. Oh, it's a giant Zeus statue. That makes sense. Well, let's get out of here real quick. Love the chorus fruit, by the way. Fastest way through any locked door. But yeah, let's also quickly mention that there are a lot of builds around here with different themes, which is fun. They're all different houses, different camp teams. Oh, that's what I wasn't signing up to be literally Hades, I was signing up to be camp team Hades. So let's go find out where I'm meant to stay for the night. This isn't my building, but I do absolutely love this use of colors. Again, I feel like a good set of building rules, in my opinion, is if you can make lots of different things that all work together. That's almost more impressive than having one block palette for an entire map. Wow, this really is a cool set of builds. There's a whole custom NPC who will sell you coke if you want it, at which point I need to say, you know, I might need to get myself out here before I commit any major crimes. Speaking of major crimes, let's move into the third Minecraft realm now. This world comes from the Wii U, which is incredible. I love to see an old console edition world make it into the modern age, and I'm curious to see what they've done in the Wii U, but also since then. So let's open up this chest, which has some minigame lobby rules. Is that what this is meant to be? Is this a messed up version of the minigame lobby? But let's see what's going on. That would mean you're in a minigame world. Read more for secrets. There are 6 heads you've got to get that, you know, okay, there's someone who loves the minigames. I'm gonna read the signs actually. Yeah, I think this is their take on the minigame lobby. It's a creative world, which is very, very interesting, but then they've made a bunch of their own minigames around here. Fun fact, by the way, the fact that this is made from stone all around means you can tell that it is a console edition world, because you cannot do that in Bedrock to this day. It is a legacy console and Java exclusive feature. Why is that true? I could spend 1,000 videos talking about it. But for now, here are some fun builds you could make if you had infinite resources. I think creative builds are very different to survival, but they're still fun to take a peek at. Like this idea of just building a zombie riding a chicken. It doesn't take that many blocks to do in survival, but it can really theme an area quite well. In this case, they've done it as a random little build in the middle of nowhere. But for example, this Ender Dragon seems to have something attached. I thought it was a minigame, but it seems like it's actually... Are they wiring around the Ender Dragon like she's a plane, maybe? I have no idea what the plan is, but it looks like they've got a giant minecart trail going around an Ender Dragon. If you want to make a minecart trail, having just some big build for it to circle, if it's a good build, can go a really long way. Is this a game? No, it's take a good look at the Ender Dragon. That's the whole point here, I guess. Honestly, I'm looking around this world and I'm seeing all the sorts of weird things that I would make in my own world. Like they made a blue ice boat track over here, it looks like. That's really fun. They've got a little maze. They've got all the sorts of dumb things that you just build when you're hanging around in creative, and I think it's really fun personally. Like even just these iron nuggets that are set back from each other, they add a really cool 3D effect where you're not quite sure what you're looking at from the angle. I think this is a fun example of a creative world, but you came here for survival inspiration, I assume. So let's stop looking at the weirdest creative builds you've ever seen and instead give you some. This next world is called Cheeseland, and looking over the edge, I Thought I would understand why, but actually it's just a very yellow spawn point above a very normal looking fantasy world. I love a good fantasy texture pack. I do think that they all leave something to be desired. There's always just something a little bit missing, but in this case I like it enough to be excited for what's going on, because I've got me an Elytra, I've got myself a full set of armor, a just in case, and a welcome book. Actually, let's read the welcome book and see if it helps me to understand what's going on here. This is a solo realm with a few visitors who have come and gone over the past 2 years. It was originally hard mode, but he switched it so I could look around with minimal issues. The villager homes were some of my first builds. Scattered out from the main island are a few farms, and further out are some of the houses that were started but not finished. Essentially, all the cool stuff is right here. That is what I'm talking about. Enjoy your stay in Cheeseland. I certainly will. So, looking around Cheeseland, I first want to, wait, I didn't put on the Elytra. So looking around Cheeseland, okay, I've got the Elytra on this time. You can see that the first thing I'm curious about is where I spawned, and actually that is an incredibly tall tower. It reminds me a lot of the Tears of the Kingdom towers, or I guess rather the Breath of the Wild towers, and having to climb those, and I really do think that looking at a video game for inspiration is great. Some people think that's weird because Minecraft is itself a video game, but I'd argue Minecraft is almost like this editing tool. It's the Lego of the digital world, and so wanting to build up things from other games that you care about is actually pretty normal. So here is a super smelter. Here is a rather nice looking concrete building place. Oh yeah, it's just an automated place to place down concrete and have it turn into, or turn concrete powder into concrete. Pretty fun idea, I guess. However, it's currently out of service, so we won't be looking at that. We've got this lovely mangrove build. It's got some weird mangrove mixed in with some azalea, mixed in with a lot of green. It looks really interesting in this texture pack. I have to say, it's a bit overwhelming for me, but I love the cat collection, and I love the cozy interior. I think this, okay, this is too many cats. If you have 11 cats, you need to start picking cats to give away. If you have 13 cats, then one of those cats is going to kill you in your sleep. It's just a matter of time, friend. I don't want to be the one who tells you, but also, what is this helmet? Oh. So interesting. It's a crown. On the other hand, having 8 axolotls hanging out in a pool by your house, that actually seems pretty normal. So yeah, looking around the rest of this world, you can see that actually, even though it looked like a lot of builds from above, there was a really great vantage point there. When you're on the ground, it looks a bit different, which is a really important message in having good vantage points to appreciate your world from. I think so many people work really hard on certain builds. Like, look at this inn. It's so enticing. It's such a perfect fit for the pack too, by the way. But if you don't have a great vantage point, then you won't ever appreciate all these things you built. I think just the act of building this tower, which isn't vastly complex in itself, it's a few hours of good work, can make you appreciate what you've got and really also give you inspiration on where you should expand. Looking right here, for example, I could see how that island to the north would be a great place for a second, like a build island, or maybe expand it out and build a new biome over there, or I could see how building a giant bridge out and doing something cool with that could be really, really fun. And so I think having a bird's eye view, even just a place to do so, is actually a build that is worth itself in gold. But speaking of worth itself, let's look around the rest of these buildings. We've got this one over here. I'm a bit confused by the wolf people out front, but I think that's a whimsical thing for a texture pack to do. I also would have to say, it's not just wolf people, there are all sorts of animals. But yeah, looking around, we can also see there's a big stable, and it's fun that this tiny island actually has space for all these crops, for all these automated smelters and builds, and also a giant stable over here, where I'm guessing they breed the very fastest of horses. They also have a big nether thing going on, but we're not focused on that today. We're focused on whatever's going on over here. I would have to imagine this build came along with the 1.20 update. They saw the cherry groves, they wanted to make a cherry-themed island, and so what does it look like? Oh, it's where they do enchanting. That is so clever, actually. The use of stained glass and a dedicated building for this, you don't need to go enchanting very often, so making it a special place for yourself actually seems like a pretty fun idea. And this whole island looks like it was probably built from scratch specifically for that purpose. I love it. Anyway, let's go fly off and see where this minecart track is going to lead me. I'd ride a minecart, but this isn't console. We wouldn't get there in any reasonable amount of time. It's funny because minecart rails are much better at just telling you where to fly or use a boat than anything else, but let's go into the iron farm. This is a really nicely made one. I'm always a big believer in the idea that you can make a beautiful exterior for something like a farm, and you totally should. I don't even see where the farm is. I'm guessing back there is where the iron golem's meant to die. But yeah, it's so nicely put together. The way they've overdone these trapdoors is usually something I find to be a bit ugly and gaudy, but in this case it works kind of nicely. It fits their theme, and also if I fly to the top here, you can see the... Oh, no, there's going to be a big set of villagers trapped somewhere, and I want to see them. Oh, yeah, this is what happens. You burn in the lava, and then eventually your drops fall into here, but there's just no villagers right now. Well, there are villagers, but they're not creating anything. I love this as an example of a fantasy world. It's been a while since I've seen a decent fantasy world, so this was nice to see. However, let's move on to the next realm. Oh, where someone has come to join me. Hello, I was gonna read your signs and work it out that way, but let's say hi. It'd be the least we can do. So this is a fairly small world, and it's presumably in active use right now, which is why someone was there. And I love all of these weird map arts. I assume they're modded in, but they're still pretty nice. I also love whatever's happening down here. Using glass and then putting a map on the ground is actually a really fun way to do it. Very underappreciated. Want a tour? Yeah, sure, let's go for it. Well, I do not, I tried really hard to type that one correctly. I promise you that much. Anyway, Toy Cat, here is gear and an atlas. Oh, they somehow managed to give me stuff, even for a temporary... That's really cool, actually. Let's go through it all. Let's grab the Riptide, Impaling, and Breaking Mending Triton, and let's also get a goat horn so I can yell for attention if something bad happens. I'm guessing they have a backup of this world if they're giving me an enchanted golden apple, but if they're giving it to me, the least I could do is use it. Also, yeah, let's go. Lethargian, tell me what's special about your world. I asked it a little bit nicer in the chat. I'm very curious what his favorite builds in this world are, and maybe you're curious too. I mean, simple ones are nice too. I really like looking basically anywhere around a world that's as curated as this, but we'll go into the Nether to find out more. Oh, very interesting. Let's follow this pathway to his house. See, this is the same thing where, you know, in theory, you know, I'll get in a boat, I'll catch him up with it while he goes. Whee! Is he in my boat? No, he's not. I love the way that boat physics work. It just never makes any sense, but that doesn't stop it being beautiful. But yeah, let's use all of these we can, and then let's fly back this way, apparently. Oh no, is he coming back for me, actually? Okay, he's coming back for me. We're going all the way out here. This is a ridiculous journey through the Nether, but we must do it to find out what's out here. So we traveled 2,000 blocks away, and honestly, this looks like the spawn of so many people's worlds. Look at that. They've got a beautiful lighthouse that leads them to what I am told, reliably, is a village. I don't want to say that bribery works well on me, but I've got to say, this place looks a lot more beautiful with all these extra gold hearts I'm seeing. And yeah, it's a lot of really, really fun individual builds mixed together, it looks like. You can see, oh, there's actually someone else already here working. It's someone with a ghast. I love this. It's from the Minecraft console. Love to see a fellow console to Bedrock convert, my friend. But yeah, as we're here, I want to mention that, yeah, it's a nice little built-up area. I love this use of stone between everything. Makes it feel a little bit medievally. You know, it's that's fantasy vibe without even using a fantasy pack. But yeah, let's keep looking around and seeing what maybe inspires me. I love these bridges. Again, so simple to just use fences and a campfire that's been put out, but it really adds a lovely little charm here. And yeah, this whole place feels like a real living, breathing town, I guess I'd say, inside a castle keep somewhere. The villagers feel a little bit odd because they're just roaming everywhere, but they do add something to it. Okay, this boat is, it's not the best boat I've seen today, but it's a boat as a good inspiration. This Zoglin cage, I love. It's like someone went to a distant land on their questionable sailing method and then brought back a Zoglin with them. So cool. I love that. Anyway, I think I'm making my tour guide bored. Keep showing me things. I'm very curious. Entertain me, why don't you? Okay, I'm very curious about what they're going to show me next. Oh no, are we leaving? But there's so many things here. What is that? I need to know. You know, I need to know. What is this? Oh, I think it's a work in progress. Okay, you know, I'm going to come back. I'm gonna go back into the Nev with them. Very curious. What's happening over here? Guess who's getting back in their boat? It's your boy. Oh no, I'm getting right back out apparently. They haven't bothered with the blue ice for this section of the Nether, but I'm sure that means that it's new, and you know what they say about new? New is always better. I mean, actually people pretend that they like old better, but then forget about all the bad versions of old they hate. You know, like we all want 2012 YouTube back. We just won't watch the videos from 2012. We all want architecture from the 1920s. There's just a very, very good reason we're not building it that way. Also, are we seriously going to the end, my man? Also, how did they build this stronghold so questionably? I have a lot of questions about the why, the how, the what, the where. But instead, how about we just go in, shall we? Okay, let's do this. I'm guessing he wants me in the end portal, and so who am I to disagree. Oh my god, look at this place. It's been entirely terraformed. Wow. That is something, huh? That is absolutely something. Survival world since 2020. In 3 years, just a few people have built like an almost entire replica of the temple map from the battle minigames. That's insane. Look at this thing. Don't fall. Oh, wow. Oh, this is such a cool way to do the, going back to the overworld. Obviously, oh, and they've even got the towers with the original end crystals in here, just for some posterity. I love that. I want to do this so bad. I want to have something like this. So terribly bad. Anyway, let's, oh, they've even got some chests out here. This is a real survival project. If you want a jungle, I guess the best thing to do is take it with you into the end. Maybe. Seems like advice to me. Whoa, look at that spear. Okay, you know, this guy, okay, he's gonna take me. Thank you, Lafargian. I had my doubts. Thank you for showing me whatever this giant Death Star sphere is. Where's the weakness? I love that he built a minecart track, and even he's like, yeah, it's better just to fly. So let's look inside this thing and see what the heck is happening here. Oh my god, this is ridiculously sized. Honestly, the trend of mega bases is one that I have a hard time saying is a good idea for you to do, because these can be ridiculously inspirational when you're in the inside. Like, wow, I want to build something that big and impressive. But they can take so long to build, and ultimately, like, you know, like, they're cool to look at for the first bit, but they can be big to even tall. Like, what is the point of this build? Storage? Okay, what do you store here? Well, in the future they'll store things, presumably. Is there storage over here? Nope. What about over here? Surely there'd be some storage here. Not moved in yet. Oh my god, a whole storage box full of shulkers. Yeah, it's fun as a concept, but ultimately as a reality, does seem like I would be cautious on recommending anyone to do this. See, I mean, even your man who's built it here is like, okay, might have made a mistake about what goes where here. This is insanely impressive, and I love it as a concept. I would love to do this myself. But also I want to say, if anyone's watching this and you think the inn is a bit more your style, that's actually a bit more realistic of a build if you ever do want to share it, if you ever do want to complete it, and if you ever want to move on to your next piece of inspiration, which is an important thing with any art. If you work on one piece of art forever, you'll never make your best piece. Or I guess that would become your best piece. But you could always make something better if you instead focus on spreading yourself broadly rather than incredibly narrowly. But this is a beautiful combination of biomes. He's playing cat, and I have enchanted golden apples. What more could I want in my life? Yeah, I think the brown pandas were overkill, but I'll be honest, I respect it at this point. I was trying to get footage of this build to use for various B-roll, for the intros, and other places, and I have to say, it's such a big build that genuinely getting far enough away from it that you can see the whole thing at once is a struggle. Like, look at it. It's so big, but also so ridiculously vast in a way that is beautiful, but don't let that demotivate you. Or do, I guess it's your choice. It's Minecraft. No one can tell you what you can and cannot do. If you want to be miserable, I can't stop you. But what I can do is jump into the next world. And I'll be honest, it's one I can't help but be curious about because it's called Voidcraft. I want to imagine they're living in a void world. I know it can't be true, but I just want to believe. And what is it? Well, it certainly isn't looking like a void to me. Oh, yeah, it certainly is not. This is Voidcraft. Let's check it out. Oh, this is a very weird texture pack. It shows you how much durability each of your armor pieces have, which is very, very odd. And then also, as you can see, we've got this welcome book. Let's read it. Hi, Toy Cat. Sorry about you being on the roof we built. This is a survival-ish that we created on June 2nd, 2022. In this book, you have a set of tools that will help you and a book. That isn't this one. That I would love if you signed. You know, okay, I'll sign the book. Yep, pretty sure I nailed that book report process. Hello, my BX Toy Cat, and shout out Big Salmon. All my homies love Big Salmon. Let's go. Book title, Bedrock. I'm gonna throw that Bedrock book inside of the chest, and now I've done my honor, and in exchange I'm allowed to look around the rest of the world for free. I say that as if other people are charging me, but you get the point. Anyway, let's go and see what's happening in Voidcraft, which I'm guessing is actually the name of like a miniature server, a community if you will, because you can see it, you can almost immediately see when a world is run by multiple people. Look at these builds over here, pretty nice. I love the idea of the greenhouse but using wood to kind of frame it, and then look at these builds over here and you can see there's a bit of incongruency, in my opinion. But yeah, also Homer Simpson has a very large belly. But I'm going to look around, and hopefully we're going to find some fun builds either way. First things first, I love this. Whether it's a farm or just a pretty build, it is a honeycut meadery. I love the way this is laid out. Using lava as a building material seriously can be underrated. It's very pretty, and if you slab it up, it can do some fun stuff. This is not a very good meadery. Oh, there's a second floor. Maybe there's big, no, it's not a very good meadery, but the idea, wait, no, there's a third floor. Wait. It's not a very good meadery. No, fourth floor. Okay, this time. It's still not a very good meadery, but ultimately, it is a very pretty fun build. You can see the style here is so intriguing. There's a lot of black stone, a lot of deep slate, but then they mix in these wood and glass builds that I actually kind of like. Having a goat farm just hanging out here is actually a pretty fun idea. I know that the most useful farms are the ones you should go for first, but also I admire the gumption of anyone who just says, nah, I'm having a goat farm, try and stop me. Because ultimately, Minecraft is the game where no one can tell you what you can and cannot do. Speaking of can and cannot do, let's go in the minecart down here. It's a 2-layer minecart system. I'm guessing that means they started the world before, 1.18 came out, because they had to make a whole new system afterwards. That's kind of cool they did it so nicely. It's also pretty cool what they've done here. They just dug out a huge box. I love these huge box inspiration things, and I think it's also a great way to pick up some diamonds if you feel like it. They've definitely done their mining strategy wrong, but ultimately, who am I to say wrong versus maybe they had more fun, and if you make something that you like the look of, that's ultimately the real answer as to whether it's good or bad. And so yeah, very interesting little build here, but not necessarily my thing. Okay, this next world is from LTC Eddie, and I really admire this spawn area, actually. It has the quick travel in the form of horses, has quick travel in the form of a portal, and also has a map to tell you where to go, and then I assume a much more in-depth map over here? Or is this just the second competing map? Yeah, this is a more zoomed in map, and this is the more zoomed out map. That is actually incredibly cool, if you ask me. You have, they've even labeled the areas so you can say I'm going to Northeast 1, or I'm going to Start Point, or Papaville, and I think that's actually a really great way of keeping a server with multiple people kind of tied together and the locations making sense. But then also, there's a big hole nearby, which isn't that useful, but it's pretty fun that you can die if you want to. Goodbye, Wild. It was nice knowing you. There's also this handy chest which tells you exactly where to go, which I think is useful for a YouTube series like this, but also useful for anyone joining your world if you just want them to know what they should go looking around if you happen to not be there. So they've got a decent set of coordinates, and I think that means that I'm going to go to the evacuation or excavation project. You know, excavation is a weird word to spell. I don't blame you for getting it wrong, but so we're going to head over to that and see what we find along the way. Also, if we find anything else, that'd be great. Along the way, we're encountering a slightly more basic, but honestly more functional bridge than we've seen before. Again, a reminder that there's no particular form requirements for a bridge, or no particular style requirements. As long as it gets you over a river, and especially with a horse, it works great in my opinion. Okay, I've reached a dead end for my horse. This is as high as I can get with it. I want to get where the skeleton horse is, but it's just too high of a jump. You can see that quite clearly. However, imagine if I could do something else. I think I can. If I just jump high enough that I can jump onto the other horse, boom, my previous horse is gone, and I found myself a much laggier, but much higher up horse. In fact, I'll just jump off this one and start flying. Whee! I have no fireworks, so I'm just gonna see how far this takes me. I'm also gonna appreciate this mushroom biome, which by the way, you might be looking at and saying, it's a very small one. The reason it's so small is you can clearly tell it was built here from scratch. Look at that, it's a floating mushroom island. I kind of like that. I love when you almost can't tell, but there's something that gives it away. This is a beautifully reconstructed biome that I honestly wouldn't be able to say for sure was fake if it weren't for that one little detail. Something I really, really like. So I don't have fireworks, but I do have the next best thing, right? Which is the ability to shoot yourself in the back. I heard this isn't meant to exist, that's why we have fireworks. But if you believe in yourself, anything is possible. Now let's find this excavation project. It's around here somewhere, right? Oh, excavation of the trail ruins. Oh, still very cool. As you can see, by keeping the stone in place, they almost make the trail ruins bug look like it's on purpose, something which is charming, and you could see how they've got the whole structure actually dug out in a way that is very, very charming to look at. You know, I like this. I think this is fun. I I do think it's a little bit bizarre to look at, but sometimes that's half of the fun. I like this big staircase in. I think it goes just a little bit too early, but otherwise, this is a really nice little structure, and I'm glad they did it, but I think I went way too far out. The closest thing to me right now is probably... Oh, there's nothing nearby me right now. If only there was some form of nether portal I could go through to cut down on that distance. Heck yeah. I know this is immature, but I just need to know what a spruce knob village is, so I guess that's where we're headed. So that was a very well labeled nether that took me all the way to Pupperville, which I've got to say is the most confusing set of structures I've ever seen. You know, this is an early game set of builds, which is important to show off because a lot of people who submit their worlds have done, you know, the dozens of hours of effort, and I love seeing that. I think that's inspirational, but sometimes you get some really basic ideas that are more impressive. Like, you know, double high fences, not impressing me. Giant dirt tower, not impressing me, but the excavation, that's actually really fun. Having a kind of floating sugarcane farm, it's a simple idea, but it is kind of nice. But even more fun than any of this is the fact that if we get over here, you can see this ridiculously sized staircase that honestly is, you know, actually, I was going to say that this was inspirational. This is the opposite. All of the time that you put into this giant birch staircase, you could have put into making slightly prettier builds, but that's the cool thing about Minecraft, isn't it? That you ultimately get to decide what it is that you spend your time doing, because this is the game where
no one can tell you what you can or cannot do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, this world leaves a lot to be desired, but sometimes I think that's just as fun to look at. You might say not for a build inspiration video, but I would say sometimes you get inspired from mundanity, from bad things, as much as you'll get inspired from a natural art of beauty. And, you know, maybe you can look at this and say, well, the next thing I work on won't look like this, and so that's actually a solid thing. But speaking of solid things, let's move into the last world of the day. Sorry, this is too fun. I'm getting addicted to this. And boy, does this last world have a theme, because this is someone who loves the Cherry Grove biome. Something fun you can tell, by the way, if you spawn into a biome from a given update, you know that world had to be created, or at least the chunks had to be pruned, after such an update. And so in this case, this is a world that started at most 7 months ago, June of 2022. So we'll keep that in mind as we look around, what you can do with just 6 months of a Minecraft world. As you can see, it looks, oh wait, there's a hut that says TC. We need to go in there. The Holy Toy Cat Shrine, worship Toy Cat, but Toy Cat is yes. Okay, I'm entirely on board with this. This is great. They've even got the Holy Toy Cat Sky Heights Sugarcane Farm. All you really need in the world to be happy, I would argue. But yeah, let's look around this world and see what's going on, shall we? It is shockingly flat here, which I've always said is one of those classic go-to projects. If you're not sure what to do in a world, flatten the world a little bit, and you'll have space for the next time you want to build something. I think perfectly flat, you know, like, isn't always the perfect shape, but you can always add on the hills and whatever you want to contour later, and it's much easier to work with a flat base, with a lovely little hill and a church that they've got over here. This is a really nice build. There's no necessary point to it, but I like it anyway. It's almost a full enchantment table. There's a lot of houses in this world that I'm going to try and slide past because I think that it's easier, you know, like if you want to build a house, you probably have some version of one in your mind that you're really excited to build. Maybe it is a churchy style one, maybe it's a nether style one with a lovely nether garden, maybe you want to build it out of jungle wood or whatever the case may be. Also, welcome, ring the bell after you order, put your order in the chests in the shop, and then someone will come out and do it. Okay, that's fun. You know, that's charming. They have their own little roleplay system going on. But you know what else they have going on? It's a bridge, but the bridge is just kind of free-floating between two separate points. And so most people think bridge and they're bridging over a river, or maybe between a mountain gap. But this is a fun example of a bridge where, yeah, actually, to get from that part of the world to this part, it involves a bit of an incline that's a pain to do. Smoothing that out and having a lovely way to do this is an example of, yeah, actually, this looks really fun. It seems very modern, and I quite like this as a concept. But yeah, if you want to have a garden made up a certain biome, you can do that even when the biome is nevery, and it will sort of work in your world if you're willing to go through the effort. Something which is really great when they have two biomes they love and they make them meet in the middle here. That's really, really charming, actually. Let's see what else they've got that's charming. They've also done something similar around their spruce forest where they've got all these sweet berries in there. And again, something about this fence is so ugly that I hate it, and then I love it again. There's something just odd about how this really shouldn't work that kind of makes it work for the vibe they're going for. I love looking around stuff like this because I do think that actually I kind of want to do fence with glass with slabs on top. Trying out new things, even if they're not the perfectly optimized way of doing things, is genuinely how you can have a lot of fun when playing games. You know, it can be fun to be at the very top of your game sometimes, the very top of your craft, but sometimes it's fun to play around in the middle of that and, oh, look at this. Ah, that's a cool mine design. I don't know why it has to be a circle that leads into this, but it looks like something special, doesn't it? Speaking of something special, this is the opposite version of that. Why is everything covered in vines? Why do they... the wonky pet shop? I want a wonky pet. Where do I find a wonky pet? Oh, I've just found out after all of that there was actually a chest that was meant to tell me where some things were. Or rather, one thing was. You know, I didn't miss out on anything. I didn't need the diamond armor because this world was so darn safe. But that brings me into the end kind of part of this video, which is to say we have looked at many different builds today from many different calibers, from many different types of people, from many different styles of Minecraft play. But ultimately, I think via looking at all of these worlds, you can get a vibe for the fact that, yeah, your world is going to look different from all of these at the start. You can terraform or you can change that as much as you can like. You can spend as many days, weeks, months, years doing that, but ultimately it is you that gets to decide what it is you want to work on, and if you want to do that from scratch from something inside of your brain, that's cool. But also, if you want to look at something and say, this is great, but I wonder if we could do this better, that's also the entire nature of art as a whole. It is something that kind of gets lost when we talk about the modern day version of, I don't know, what would the word be? Like, in the world of creation of content, it is ultimately hard to remember, but every idea comes from someone else's idea, made better or made worse at some point down the line. And if that wasn't true, then I guess I'd have to stop making YouTube videos and move over to, you know, like, Tube or something. I don't know if they would accept Minecraft content, but really, you know, isn't it me being pretty ununique, pretty uninventive not to try? What we all like in the world is things that are just familiar enough so that we know what they are, but just different enough that they feel like we're doing something new and unique in our lives. And maybe that's something you can apply to your Minecraft builds, or maybe you can just have a nice day, and thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you for February's Realm review. I had so many worlds coming for this month's that I am a little worried, but I am glad that so many of you want to share your builds with me, and I look forward to seeing what people have done over the next month or so. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, because I'll see you in 2024. It's already 2024, but I'll see you, like, later in that year. Okay, bye. Because this is the game where no one can tell you what you can and cannot do. make sure to actually have the clip of the thing there. That would be much better than me saying it.